Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Eddie Jennings from ejsllc.com. In this video, we're going to continue with the Work with Roles objective group, and we'll be looking at the download roles from an Ansible Galaxy and use them. So I'm here in my RHEL workstation connected to my Ansible control node, and the command we're going to be using for this is Ansible Galaxy. And in the previous video, when we were just talking about creating roles, we used Ansible Galaxy list to see what roles we currently have installed, as well as Ansible Galaxy init to create a role. So to search for roles that are available for download, you can use the Ansible Galaxy search, and we can search for just a keyword such as Nginx. And after a while, that finds a ton of different roles, some of which are obviously a part of Nginx, some of them are not, but probably have some type of tags and such that talk about Nginx. So that leads to the question of, how is Ansible Galaxy configured? How does it know what it needs to do? So let's take a look at the man page for Ansible Galaxy, because the answer to those questions I'm actually not 100% sure off the top of my head. There are a couple things that I am aware of, though, as far as there are some options that we can do with searching. And part of that is we can search for particular tags. We can search for particular authors. I think Geerling Guy, was it Geerling Guy or Geerling Guy Linux? But either way, that's a person that has a ton of roles out there that I have seen being used with several tutorials and such. You can filter by platforms. Now, the platforms filter I think is kind of odd as far as, you would have EL for Enterprise Linux, which would be RHEL-based things. So I'm not 100% sure what all of the different little platforms that we could potentially put in there are. Now, in addition to just installing from your Ansible Galaxy, I believe you can also connect to Git repositories as well. I'm not 100% sure how to do that. I haven't tried it in my own lab and practice. So according to this, it looks like there's configuration in Ansible config. And the reason why I'm checking the man page is because I looked at some of this probably 2 or 3 days ago, try to refresh in my head, and I didn't specifically see some stuff, but perhaps there are things that I missed. So let's go to cd Ansible, and we'll vi ansible.cfg, because the thing I'm most curious about is how it knows where to look for Ansible Galaxy, because I imagine that, or actually I'm pretty sure that there was an option that you can specify a particular server, but I'm curious to see what default values and such would be. So if you're on the test and you need to make some type of change to defaults, one of the places to go to find the documentation for that would be the config file. So let's see here if there's some stuff particular to Ansible Galaxy or particular to roles. One thing I do want to point out, previous video I talked about using blocking file, and this is where you can set the Ansible managed message for that. I thought there was something in the default configuration for that, and here it is. All right, so I did not see anything in the actual config file. That's kind of odd. So let's look at the man page once again for Ansible Galaxy. And specifically what I'm wanting to see is dictating your source. If that is even something that can be dictated, that'll be something that I would obviously want to look at between now and the exam. I know how to just search Ansible Galaxy. I know how to download and install things via Ansible Galaxy, but the curiosity aspect of me wants to know a little bit more and know how you can set the actual Ansible Galaxy server. I know there has to be a way of doing this. Perhaps it's in the online documentation. Well, that's not a big deal. I'm not going to spend much more time on it, but it bothers me that's not kind of available at my fingertips. I'm not sure on the exam if we're going to have to configure Ansible Galaxy to use some other server and such. If so, then that might be, up the creek without a paddle, so to speak. But I'll see if I can do a little bit of research of that between now and 2 weeks from now, but I'm not going to let it bother me too much. But anyway, so for Ansible Galaxy, let's search again. Search Nginx and author. I think it's Geerling Guy. Nope. All right. So let's do this. I know there's one by him for Apache. Let's see if I can find it. I think I'm just misspelling the username. And of course, that only made it through the F's. Let me try this. Of course. Maybe it'll accept wildcard characters. Nope. What's one that... Let's try HTTPD. The moment I see this person's username, I'll recognize it, but for whatever reason, I am drawing a blank on it. There it is, Gearling Guy. So it is GG there. All right, so let's try this once again. So we're going to do Ansible, actually, let's do Ansible's Galaxy search, see if it'll just let us do an author. Well, it hasn't complained yet. All right, so 100 roles that we have found for Gearling Guy. Now, I'm going to do a couple little tests here. I still have my Ansible config file that has dictated the roles folder. So what we're going to do here, let's do Apache. So I'm just going to copy this here, and Ansible Galaxy, I believe the command I want is install. I'll put in the name of the package, or package, the name of the role. And let's see. So this installed to home.ansible.roles.gearlingguy. That's curious. I was expecting that to go to our roles directory. Maybe I didn't have anything. No, I thought I did. I know why. We're in Etsy Ansible. That's why it went there, because of not having the local configuration file that I made. Yep. All right, so we can remove something that we have installed by doing Ansible Galaxy remove and then the role. So let's go back to our home directory and let's try that install again. Okay, now you can see it says extracting to where we want to go. So if I were to go into that directory, we see what looks like the normal directories that we would expect with a role. There's one called Molecule. I'm not 100% sure how that works, but all of the others seem pretty familiar. And I would say for any role that you would be getting out of Ansible Galaxy, you can get information from its README file. So let's cat that real quick. It gives you some information about variables and such to change. All right, and let's see what else. Look at the license. This is an important thing. So it looks like it's MIT license. That's pretty free license. And let's see, what else do we have here? I'm going to list the README one more time. See role variables along with the default values. You can see what to change here. So this, I guess, would be, yep, you can configure. Yeah, let's go to defaults and we'll VI main. Yeah. And this is what I was talking about in the README file. If there's particular variables that you need to change for your environment, this would be one of the places to do that. And of course, any of these variables you will be able to set at playbook as well, because that's going to overwrite whatever's in the defaults. I'm curious about the actual vars directory though. And this, I believe, this makes sense. So we have variables that are specific to versions of Apache and also specific to particular distributions. If I were to cat the redhat.yml, that makes sense. Has the packages that you're probably going to need for that, a couple of configuration items there, and I'm willing to bet if we were to go into tasks, take a look at main real quick. Some of these are including variables. Looks like we have defined Apache packages. That's not defined. Yeah, this stuff makes sense. Including tasks using what looks like to be an Ansible fact to find the Ansible family, which is where that redhat.yml comes in. That makes sense. And let us, while we're here, look at setup redhat.yml. All right, that's kind of neat. So the thing to remember is with these roles, I mean, there's nothing stopping you from altering the YAML files and altering all this stuff if you want. It's probably not recommended because the idea of these roles is this is a little self-contained thing that can be used in a variety of environments and you get some code reuse out of it. But if we wanted to put this to use, let us go back to our home directory here. We'll do role test.yml and we'll do trying out HTTPD role. We'll do this against labrel AN02 and we're going to become yes, because I'm sure that's definitely going to be needed. For that tasks, we'll do one task just saying hello. Then I'm going to do another task and I believe I can do an import roles at the task level. I think. Not 100% sure on that. We're about to find out because we know we can do it at the play level because I did that in the previous video. Rule. There we go. And I want to Ansible Galaxy list. Get the actual name of that role. Note this version number here. I'm going to show you where that is going to be configured in just a minute. And also, we're going to do that with another search example. So let's go back to role test. Put the role name here. And let's see what happens. And I went too quick and I have a syntax problem somewhere. Name, host, become, tasks. Not seeing where the error is just yet. Load debug message. Unless import role is not a thing. Which that could be an issue there. So let us, unexpected parameter. Yeah, alright, so does it include roles, perhaps? I'm just curious. We're going to do Ansible doc-l grep for role. So we have import role into a play and then load and execute role. So import role and then name, okay. And let's take a look at include role. So I know as far as like importing and including different playbooks, the idea is import is everything's front loaded into the play, and then include is going to be everything just run at that time. Load and execute a role. Okay, so let's go back into our role test. I'm going to change this to import role or include role, and we'll follow the directions. Name, put the role name there, and let's see what happens. Okay, now it's running the role. Looks like ensure Apache is installed on Rails, so it's going to take a moment or so to install that. You can see where it has included some of the tasks, which if we were to have dove into that main.yml, we would have found the line that would call this particular task. Now, I'll bet this did not configure firewall-d, so let's just try curling http labrel an02. Yeah, so let's do a ad hoc command here real quick. Ansible labrel an02 firewall-d module. We're going to do port equals 80 TCP. State is enabled. Immediate. Actually, I might not have to do immediate for that. I do have to spell enabled right though. All right, and let's curl http labrel an02. All right, so yeah, so it pretty much does everything except the actual configuring of the firewall, which I guess that would make sense to do. So now I'm curious. Let's go back to our role test. I'm going to do this against lab03, and I'm going to change the include to import. Now I think probably the best difference is if I were to do Ansible playbook role test list tasks. And so this shows us all the tasks that are going to happen. We have our hello with no tags, and then we are running these tasks here, which are a part of the role, and then that includes several other tasks. So if I were to go back to role test and change this to include role, I'm pretty sure all of those other tasks are not going to be listed. Yeah, so you have run the role and then that's it, versus with the other, the run the role task was replaced with everything that role is going to do. So there's your difference between the include and import. So a couple other things I wanted to show you. I talked about that version of the role. So let's go back into our roles directory. We're going to go into the meta folder and let's vi main.yml. So here's where we have a lot of different information about the actual role itself, and this is where some of the information when you're doing your searching of Ansible Galaxy would come into play. And there should, or I thought, there would be an actual version number here. Perhaps not. Doesn't have any dependencies. It has the tags, I assume, for search. But let's do this. Let's do our Galaxy list again. Go back to our home directory. So 3.1.4. One thing you can do, and I'm Pretty sure I have the syntax right for this, but Ansible Galaxy search, and I want to search for gearlingguy.apache, and what I want is a comma for this or colon. I think it's comma. No, it's not. I would use like a greater than sign. So let's do equals 3.1.4. No roles match the search. Grumble. That's something that I'm going to have to look up. I know there is some syntax with Ansible Galaxy Search that you can search for particular versions, which is kind of curious because if I were to do something like this, Ansible Galaxy, what was another one of his? I'm going to show you the info real quick, but I want to do one that I don't have installed. Okay, we'll look at postfix. So Ansible Galaxy info gearlingguy.postfix, and that has hardly any information at all. So let's do, I know he has one for Nginx. There we go. And generally you'll see the minimal Ansible version, and a lot of this information comes from what was in that main.yaml within the meta folder, but I have yet to see anything searching info in Ansible Galaxy that shows actual version number. And maybe there's something out there that that does have that, and if you know, feel free to put that in the comments. But I know a couple of the example labs and such I've done is like, get everything that is this specific version. Well, if I knew and had memorized the syntax for searching for that specific version, obviously that would help. But I'd like to think that you would be able to see version within info that comes up, like available versions and such. But perhaps I asked for too much. Now, there's one other thing that I want to try to demonstrate, and that's the idea of requirements. So requirements require a YAML file, and it actually needs to have may accept .yaml, but I know it needs to at least have .yml as the extension. So I'm going to do rex.yml, and we're going to do -src, and we're going to put the name of the package that we want. So gearling, or you can't call it package, the role that we want. So gearling guy.nginx, and here if we want to, we can say, we can do version, and I think there are some other things that we can put in the requirements file as well. I do know in the actual online documentation for Ansible roles, there's good documentation about what can go into a requirements file, but I'm not sure about offline documentation. I'm going to say greater than 4. And let's see if I can find something. So to be able to use that requirements file, so I will do Ansible Galaxy install -r, I think maybe --rex perhaps, or -- requirements file, but -r, and then the file name. And what it's going to do is, well, apparently my version thing did not matter because 3.1.0 is what it grabbed for Nginx, but the src is where you can specify the particular role that you would want. And I think with that, if you specify a Git repository, there's another option that you need to specify SCM, and I think for that you have to say Git or a couple of other of the little CI/CD methods of deploying roles, of which I neither am aware nor understand super well. Let's take a look at the man page one more time with Ansible Galaxy, see if there's something I'm missing. Otherwise, that is about it, I believe, as far as what would be relevant to the objectives. You do have an import. I have not tried importing. I'm not sure what the big difference is for that. We've done delete. Actually, I think we did remove. You can specify the location to install your role rather than relying on just your config file. All right. So I think for what this objective wants us to do, which is create, I'm sorry, I'm about to read the wrong objective, download roles from an Ansible Galaxy and use them. I think this pretty much covers that. So I'm going to consider this a pass as far as my own preparation. Like I said, there are a couple things that I want to just at the very least for my own knowledge, just want to know, but I think would be useful for me to brush up on right before the exam, which would be the seeing how you would configure Ansible Galaxy this command to be using a different source other than what it just by default is going to. And the question of, oh, what was the other one? You can tell I'm getting tired. I'm already getting forgetful, and I'm only about 30 minutes or so into the video. But there was one other thing. I'll go back and review the video that I specifically mentioned I need to look at. There is one other thing I wanted to check. Go to Etsy, go into roles. Yeah, there's nothing there. I was wondering if there was maybe one other file to work with that, but nope. So again, I think I'm pretty well prepared for this, with the exception of just a couple of things that I would look over. I hope you found this video useful for you. Again, these are not tutorials and obviously not real authoritative information. I like to think the stuff that I know is fairly accurate, but I am not a master of this by any means. But I'm hoping that putting these and my other practice sessions online might be useful as far as if you're doing your own practice, and I might mention something that you haven't thought to study yet, and so you can add that to your list of things to learn. Or if I encounter problems and such and I try to work through them, perhaps that will show you some strategies that you could use yourself with working through said problems. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you do click like, and feel free to share it with others that might find it useful. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, make sure you click that subscribe button, and thank you to returning subscribers for watching another video, and I'll see you the next time.